I still remember the sound the coins made 23 cents short and how it echoed louder than anything else in that grocery store in Milwaukee. A cold Wisconsin morning frost still clinging to the edges of the automatic doors. And there I was at age 30, a senior clinical specialist-to-be at Nova Orthotech, digging through my coat pockets like a panicked teenager buying lunch at school. The irony, just 1 hour earlier, I'd been promoted. The email from Nova headquarters sat glowing on my phone screen, a relocation package, and a first-class ticket to Denver to join the R&D division. A career-defining moment, something I'd worked 15 years for. And still at that checkout lane, I couldn't afford milk and bread. "Ma'am, do you want me to void something?" the cashier asked. She couldn't have been older than 19, but she spoke to me in that soft, pitying tone people use when they're watching someone crumble in public. Behind me, a man in a puffer jacket sighed loudly. "Some of us have work to get to," he muttered. My cheeks burned. I could feel people watching. And worse, I felt my family watching in my head. Every ignored text. Every dismissed accomplishment. Every time they reduced me to childcare and emotional labor. "Just give me a second," I whispered, my fingers trembling as I scraped the bottom of my purse for coins. I had 63 cents. I needed 86. And then a voice behind me said, "Put it on this." A matte gold card slid across the counter. Heavy, smooth. The kind of card you only see in financial commercials, never in real life, and certainly never inches from a bottle of discount milk. I turned. An older woman stood behind me. Gray hair neatly pinned. A faded tote bag with embroidered mountains. Her eyes were sharp, too sharp for her gentle smile. "I've been behind you for 5 minutes," she said softly. "And I watched the whole fight you just lost with yourself." I tried to protest, but she placed a steady hand on my wrist. "Let me cover the groceries." "No shame, just take it." The cashier took the card instantly. The transaction beeped approval in less than a second. When the woman took the card back, she slipped a small business card-sized note between my fingers. "Tomorrow," she said. "Summit Brew, Denver. Come find me." I stared at the card as the doors slid open behind me and cold air rushed in. On the textured surface was a simple embossed pine leaf and an address. A Denver address. Denver, the same city I had just been promoted to. The coincidence made my stomach tighten. But when I looked up again, the woman was already gone. Back at my tiny Milwaukee apartment, the silence felt heavier than usual. The walls still held the smell of reheated soup and laundry detergent, the only companions I had most nights after long hospital consults. I dropped the grocery bag on the counter, opened my family group chat, and watched the avalanche of messages. There was my message from 2 hours earlier. I got promoted. I'm moving to Denver next week. It had been seen and ignored, buried under a gif Brooke sent of her toddler smearing paint on the wall. Then a photo of Brooke's new scarf designs. Then a flurry of messages about logistics for Brooke's upcoming handmade winter sale, which everyone apparently needed to attend. Not one congratulations, not one question, not even a thumbs up. And then, as though scripted by a cruel director, my mother Diane texted me privately, "Honey, can you cancel the Denver thing for now? Brooke really needs someone to watch the kids during her big event. You know how stressed she gets. Cancel Denver. Cancel my promotion. Cancel my hard-won career. Because Brooke needed a built-in nanny." Something in me snapped so quietly, I almost didn't notice it. I typed, "I'm leaving today. I'll be in Denver tonight." Then I turned my phone face down, packed 2 suitcases, fed my cat, and walked out the door. I didn't tell them goodbye. I didn't owe them goodbye. Hours later, in a small roadside motel off I-80, I sat on the edge of a creaky bed with my suitcase half unzipped. The neon light outside flickered against the curtains. I opened my wallet to tuck away my new work documents, and that's when I saw the card again. Summit Brew, Denver, tomorrow. My heart thudded once hard. The timing was too perfect. The woman was too calm. The card too deliberate. Was she watching me? Did she know about the promotion, about Denver? About my family? I should have thrown the card away. Instead, I placed it inside my passport, right where important things go. And right then, in that motel room, with the hum of the heater filling the silence, I realized something unsettling. For the first time in years, I wasn't afraid. I was curious. And curiosity, I would soon learn, was the first step toward blowing my entire life open. Tomorrow, I would meet the woman with the gold card. And whatever she wanted from me, I knew it wasn't random. Not at all. I arrived at Summit Brew the next morning, with my heart thudding like I was walking into an interview that could rewrite my entire future. The place was a renovated brick building on a quiet Denver street, warm light, exposed beams, the smell of roasted beans and cedar. It didn't look like the kind of place where your life fractures open. But in hindsight, everything about it feels inevitable. The barista pointed me to the stairs before I even spoke. "She said you'd be coming," he murmured almost knowingly. On the second-floor door, 204 was half open. I knocked once. "Come in, Rachel." Her voice was unmistakable calm, steady a little, weathered, but sharp as cold air on mountaintops. The woman from the grocery store sat in a small sunlit living room, filled with towering bookshelves, medical journals, framed photographs of community clinics, and blueprints of hospital wings. A kettle steamed quietly behind her. She wasn't just an old woman with a tote bag. She looked important. "Please," she said, "sit." I lowered myself into the chair across from her. She noticed the way I kept glancing at the gold card in my bag. "You want answers," she said. "Good. I don't invest in people who don't ask questions." I blinked. "Invest." She smiled. "I should introduce myself properly. I'm Eleanor Hayes." The name hit me like a physical impact. Hayes. As in Hayes Health Foundation. As in the primary funder of Axis Knee, the very project I was moving to Denver to lead. "You know Nova Orthotech," she continued. "You know the Axis Knee device. You're on the development team." I nodded slowly. "How did you—" "I follow the people who shape the things I fund." Her voice was smooth, almost clinical. "I've followed you for a long time, Rachel." My stomach tightened. Why, she opened a folder on her lap, revealing a printed profile of me, my professional milestones, my research notes, my work presentations, even volunteer hours I'd forgotten I logged. But no photos of my family, not a single one. "You're brilliant," she said plainly. "A systems thinker, a problem solver, adaptive, under-recognized. But most importantly—" She paused. "You don't know your own value because the people closest to you never treated you like you had any." It felt like someone stuck a pin straight into the softest part of my chest. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. She reached into a leather case and placed the matte gold Aspen Mutual card on the table between us. "This," she said, "is linked to the Aurora Trust, named for someone I lost long ago. It's a private trust fund designed for one purpose: to protect the future of a brilliant woman whose family mistook her for a pack mule." My throat tightened. "You don't even know my family." "I know enough," she replied. "I saw you counting pennies for groceries after receiving a promotion that should have been celebrated with champagne. I watched you shrink yourself in public because shrinking is what you've been trained to do." I stared at the card. "What does the trust actually cover? A home, safe transportation, medical care, therapy if you want it, professional development, stability, everything you were denied by a family who used you as an emergency generator." Her voice cooled. "But it does not cover rescuing financially irresponsible adults, not parents, and especially not sisters with failing scarf boutiques." I choked out a breath. "Brooke doesn't." "Don't defend her," she said gently. "Not here." She leaned forward. "There is another feature you should understand. Every time you use this card under emotional pressure or manipulation, it logs the transaction as coercive. The system timestamps the event. In plain terms, it creates evidence so no one can ever twist the narrative against you again." I felt the air leave my lungs. She wasn't offering money. She was offering armor. "Why me?" I whispered. "Because you remind me of someone I failed to save in time." Her eyes softened just for a heartbeat. "And because you're worth saving before you disappear into someone else's crisis." Then she stood and nodded toward the window. Outside, across the street, a gleaming glass apartment building rose above the trees. A corner unit on the 8th floor caught the sunlight like a mirror. "That," she said, "is your new home for the next 30 days. The lease is under your name. The foundation is covering the first month. You move in today." My jaw dropped. "I can't just—" "You can," she said. "And you will, because you need a place to stand firmly before your family tries to pull you back under." I swallowed hard. Images of ignored texts, guilt trips, demands for help, last-minute babysitting flashes, all of it hit me at once. Rachel, Eleanor said softly, "You have spent years being the only responsible adult in a family of people who never learned accountability. You can't build a life while carrying theirs." Something inside me finally cracked open. "I'll go," I whispered. She smiled. "I knew you would." 3 days later, I stood inside my new Denver apartment, floor-to-ceiling windows, overlooking a running trail, stainless steel appliances, quiet air, a place that looked like it belonged to someone who mattered. At Nova Orthotech, Denver things unfolded fast. Jonas, my new director, praised my Axis knee presentation. The R&D surgeons asked me to join weekly rounds. For once in my life, people saw me as a specialist, not support staff. And then there was Jason Reed. We met on the trail outside my building, him hydrating after a long run, me trying not to trip over a tree root. Founder of Stride Leaf Rehab. Quick smile, steady eyes. The first man in years who asked what I cared about instead of what I could help with. For a moment, I believed maybe, just maybe, my life was turning into something whole, something good. Until the Instagram story dropped. My cousin, visiting Denver for a layover, posted a surprise visit. Selfie right outside my building. Glass walls glittering behind her. Within an hour, my phone blew up. Oh, wow. Rachel is living fancy now. Did she buy it? Ask her salary? Ask her bonus. Then my mother forwarded a message from Brooke. Find out what she's making. What she's hiding. We need to know what she has. My stomach turned cold. To them, I wasn't a daughter. I was an asset. I wrote a small card and taped it beside my front door. House rules. Quiet home. No running. No touching medical devices. No questions about salary, rent, or bonuses. 5 minutes later, my mom texted surprise. We booked tickets, we're coming this weekend. Family visit, family visit. No warning, no permission, no boundaries, just a scheduled invasion. And I knew deep in my bones that this wasn't a visit, it was an audit. And I was no longer the girl who counted pennies at checkout. I was someone with a gold card, someone with an ally, someone their old tactics might not work on anymore. But they didn't know that yet, not even close. They arrived exactly the way I feared, like a team of auditors stepping into a crime scene. My father, Gary, walked into my Denver apartment, first scanned the living room, and immediately claimed the best armchair like it was his birthright. He flicked on the TV, raised the volume, and muttered, "Nice place. Fancy. Didn't know clinical work paid like this?" Brooke swept in after him, her 2 kids exploding across the apartment like wind-up toys. They darted between the glass walls, leaving fingerprints everywhere, tugging on curtains, spinning on the kitchen stools. She didn't even try to stop them. Instead, she began quietly evaluating the room, touching the marble counter, lifting the corners of throw pillows, inspecting the labels on my appliances, as if she were appraising items for an estate sale. Then came my mother. Diane rushed straight to me, arms open, voice trembling with exaggerated emotion. "Oh, honey, this place is stunning. I'm so proud of you," she breathed before her eyes wandered, calculating toward the bedroom hallway. "Now, what's the rent here must be very high. And the bonus, your sister said something about a signing bonus. I'm so curious how everything works for you now." There it was. The real reason they came. I kept my voice even. House rules are by the door. Brooke scoffed when she saw the card I'd taped to the wall. No running, no yelling, no entering private rooms, no questions about salary, rent, or bonuses. She read it aloud with mocking disbelief. "Rachel, seriously, this is family. And this is my home," I replied. Her kids tried to barrel into my bedroom. I stepped in front of the doorway. "Books are in the basket by the couch," I said. "You can choose one." They pouted, but I didn't move. I poured tea, no soda, no juice, no snacks on demand, and watched irritation flicker across my family's faces as they realized the usual dynamic wasn't available here. I wasn't bending, I wasn't scrambling, I wasn't hosting. The silence grew heavy, and I knew the main event was coming. It was Brooke who finally broke. She clasped her hands on the table, inhaled dramatically, and began. "Okay, Rachel, we need to talk about something serious." Her voice was theatrical, almost trembling. "My boutique is going through a temporary crisis. A bank loan, only $39,000 balloon interest, 18%. It was supposed to be easy to pay off, but things got complicated. Your father and I signed the guarantee," Mom added, eyes wide with practiced distress. "If she defaults, the bank could come for the house." I felt the air thicken. There it was, the crisis they had carried across state lines like a flaming torch. Dad muted the TV. "Your sister's been drowning. We thought you'd want to help." Family pulls together. Then Brooke dropped the real request. "So, we think the most reasonable thing is for you to cover the loan. You're doing so well now. You could move out of this pricey apartment, save money, put that into helping us. Jason has a spare room, right? You could just stay with him for a while." The audacity stunned me into momentary silence. They weren't asking. They were assigning me the responsibility. Rachel Mom said softly, reaching for my hand. This is what family is. We support each other. You're the one in the best position to fix this. I pulled my hand away gently. Inside, a storm raged, but on the outside, I stayed impossibly calm. I'll think about it, I said. Brooke blinked. What do you mean, think I mean? I repeated. I'll review everything. Her mouth twisted. It's not complicated, Rachel. We just need you to cover it. It's not even that much money. That line, not that much money, hit me with a force I didn't expect. It was the same sentence Brooke used when she borrowed money from my college fund, from my savings after grad school, from every emergency stash I'd scraped together for years. I stood up. Thank you for coming, I said. But the discussion is done for tonight. Their outrage simmered under the surface. My refusal to cave immediately was an unfamiliar, unacceptable shift in the terrain. When they left, the silence of the apartment felt different. Not peaceful, electric. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and slid effortlessly into the part of myself my family never recognized: the professional, the analyst, the problem solver, the woman who built medical systems, not emotional traps. I created a timeline. Every ignored text, every message where I announced good news and received silence, every time they summoned me to babysit, every guilt-laden sentence Brooke used to get money, every screenshot that proved a pattern. Then, I opened the loan agreement Brooke had forwarded. Balloon interest, late fees, collateral implications, parent guarantors fully liable. Everything they conveniently left out of their dramatic performance. Then I logged into Aspen Mutual and reread the terms of the Aurora Trust. There it was, in bold prohibition on coercive transference. Any financial assistance extracted through emotional pressure, family coercion, or guilt manipulation is automatically void and flagged for review. Repeated coercion will result in a temporary lock of all disbursement activity to protect the beneficiary. The trust wasn't just money, it was a shield, and they had no idea. I took a breath and drafted the clearest, most controlled message of my life. Not emotional, not apologetic. A decision. I will not pay the $39,000 loan. However, I will cover 5 hours with a commercial bankruptcy consultant, an 8-week financial management course, and 1 weekend of childcare per month with 4 weeks' notice. No cash transfers, no bailouts. I read it twice. Then, I added the final line: I've scheduled a meeting for all of us at Summit Brew next Saturday. This will be our final conversation about financial matters. I CC'd everyone. This time, I didn't wait for their reaction. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't the one being audited. I was the one setting the terms. Summit Brew was unusually bright that afternoon. The sunlight poured through the tall windows, cutting hard angles across the tables, as if the universe wanted every truth laid bare, with no shadows to hide behind. I chose a table dead center, under the strongest pendant lamp, exactly where I knew no one could claim they misheard or misunderstood. Eleanor sat in the corner, almost invisible behind a newspaper. She wasn't really reading. She was watching, tracking every micro-expression the way a surgeon studies a heartbeat. My family entered like a gust of cold air. Brooke arrived first, her children tugging at her sleeves, her expression already shaped into irritation. My mother followed, performative grief smeared over her features. My father trailed last, shoulders hunched, already preparing to play the victim. Let's just get this over with. Brooke snapped, dropping into the seat opposite me. I slid a folder across the table, clean, crisp, color-coded. This is my final offer, I said calmly. I'm not paying the $39,000 loan. I will cover 5 hours with a commercial bankruptcy advisor, an 8-week financial course, and 1 weekend of childcare per month with notice. That's it. Brooke didn't even read it. She threw her head back and laughed a sharp, ugly sound. Rachel, stop being dramatic. It's just $39,000. You make more than enough. Do you want Mom and Dad to lose their house? There it was. The hostage tactic. Mom wiped at imaginary tears. We're terrified, honey. The bank won't wait. Please think about the family. Dad added. A good man would help you. You don't need to carry this alone. Translation, you're single, therefore you owe us everything. I kept my hands flat on the table. My answer is the same. Brooke leaned forward, eyes blazing. You're living in a glass tower, Rachel. You're single, no kids. You don't need all that money. You can move in with that Jason guy. Stop, I said. But she didn't. She took a deep breath, and something in her snapped. Her eyes went to my purse. The purse with the gold card inside. The purse she had been staring at since she walked in. You know what, she hissed. I'm tired of this. Before I understood what was happening, she lunged across the table. Her hand closed around my purse strap. Chairs screeched. A barista gasped. The older couple behind us froze mid-conversation. "Give it!" Brooke snarled. "Give me the damn card! You don't deserve it! You're not even using it for family!" But I held the purse firmly, keeping my voice level unshaken. "Let go!" She didn't. The entire cafe watched as Brooke clawed at my purse like a desperate shoplifter. The gold strap dug into my shoulder, but my expression never changed. "Brooke," I repeated quietly, "let go." Finally she did, but only because she saw the phones pointed at her and the red security camera light above us. Her breath came fast, ragged. Mom started stammering excuses. Dad muttered something about stress. I didn't respond. I simply closed my purse and placed it gently on my lap. The silence that followed was heavier than the confrontation itself. I stood. "We're done here." Brooke's face twisted. "Rachel, you can't just walk away, but I already had." The war began within hours. Front 1, real estate manipulation. A realtor called me, insisting she had been referred by family because she heard I was struggling to afford the apartment and needed help getting out from under the lease before things got worse. I hung up. Front 2, paternal guilt voicemail. Dad left a long message. "You hurt your mother. A woman can't understand finances alone. You need a man. If you had a husband, he'd tell you to help your sister." I deleted it. Front 3, public shaming. Brooke posted a story with a picture of her children sitting sadly on the floor, captioned, "Some people care more about luxury apartments than saving their family's home." Within minutes, texts flooded in from aunts, cousins, distant relatives, demanding to know why I was abandoning my parents. I replied with a single neutral template. "I am not discussing financial matters publicly. Please refer to Brooke for details." No emotion, no fuel, no access. I thought the storm might die. It didn't. That evening, I received an email. Subject line, debt repayment plan. Confirmed agreement. Brooke had drafted a fake PDF contract complete with my forged approval of a $39,000 transfer. I almost admired her nerve. Almost. I hit reply. CC'd my parents. Attached screenshots. I have never agreed to any loan repayment. This is an attempt to fabricate consent. My offer remains the only option. You have 24 hours to choose. 20 minutes passed before the next message arrived. A group text. A picture of Brooke's daughter holding a handmade sign reading, "Please help Mommy so Grandma and Grandpa don't lose their house." My stomach turned to ice. She was using her own child as emotional ammunition. That was it. No more templates. No more delays. I typed, "We are ending this today. There will be one final meeting. Everything will be signed. No more discussions after that." I hit send. My phone buzzed immediately. It was Eleanor. Her voice was low, steady, almost surgical. "Move the meeting," she said. "Not your apartment. Not Summit Brew. Bring them to Hayes Community Bank." Why there? Because this isn't a family conversation anymore. This is a financial case, and cases belong on neutral ground, under bright lights, with evidence on the table. I swallowed. "They'll never agree." "They will," she said. "People always show up when they think they can win." She inhaled. "And Rachel, this time you won't be alone. That's why we're doing it at Hayes Bank. My territory, my rules." I stared at my reflection in the window, tired, steadier, harder than the woman who once counted pennies for milk. "Okay," I whispered. "Let's end it." Tomorrow the battlefield would shift. And for the first time, I'd be walking in with power, not apology. Hayes Community Bank towered over downtown Denver, like a monument carved out of steel and judgment. When the security guard escorted us to the executive floor, no one spoke. Not Brooke, not my mother, not my father. They moved like people walking into a courtroom without a lawyer. The elevator doors opened onto a hallway of glass marble and silence. And at the end of it, standing with the posture of someone who owned the air itself, was Eleanor Hayes. Gone were the soft sweaters and the tote bag from the grocery store. She wore a charcoal gray suit, hair swept back, eyes sharp enough to slice through excuses. She looked nothing like the woman who covered my 23 cents. She looked like a woman who could alter destinies. "Please," she said, "come in." The conference room was pure glass walls, doors, even the ceiling panels. Denver's skyline surrounded us, bright and merciless. On the table sat 3 leather-bound folders and a tablet already queued with evidence. I took my seat beside Eleanor. My family sat across from us, unease settling into their posture. Eleanor folded her hands. This meeting, she began, is to clarify financial demands placed on someone I invest in, Rachel Moore. My mother frowned. Invest in she's our daughter. Your daughter, Eleanor replied, not your bailout fund. Brooke slammed her palm on the table. We just need her to cover the loan. $39,000. Eleanor didn't blink. Actually, Brooke, you need Rachel to cover a commercial loan with balloon interest of 18%, backed by your parents' home. She slid the first folder open. Inside were printed screenshots my family group chat for the past 2 years. Every message asking for money, help babysitting. Every ignored announcement about promotions, achievements, milestones. My mother's face paled. These, Eleanor said, represent a communication pattern in which Rachel is only valuable to you when she is useful. Dad shifted uncomfortably. We didn't mean intent. Eleanor said coolly, is irrelevant. Impact is documented. She opened the second folder, the boutique's financial statements. The numbers were brutal negative accounts, rising interest, unpaid inventory, hidden personal expenses, logged as business needs. Brooke's face flushed crimson. You had no right, I have every right, Eleanor said, when you demand money from my beneficiary. Then she tapped the tablet. On the screen appeared a freeze frame of Brooke, lunging across the table at Summit Brew. Hand clawing for my purse, face twisted in desperation. The angle was perfect. The clarity, undeniable. The room went still. Mom whispered, Brooke, what did you do? But Eleanor wasn't finished. Before we proceed to the documents, she said softly, there is something Rachel deserves to know. She stood. My name is Eleanor Hayes. My younger sister was named Aurora Hayes. Aurora had a daughter, Diane. My mother's breath hitched. Her hands shook beneath the table. Eleanor continued. Aurora died when she was very young. Diane was adopted, renamed, and lost all legal ties to the Hayes family. Years later, I found her, saw she was safe, and stepped back. I never intervened. Not for Diane. Her eyes shifted toward me. But for the granddaughter Aurora never got to protect, I watched. I waited. I hoped your family would treat you with dignity without knowing your inheritance. My heart thudded loudly. My mother covered her mouth. You're my aunt and Rachel's great-aunt, Eleanor confirmed. By blood. The world tilted. The room blurred for a moment. Everything I'd ever wondered about, why a stranger cared so much, suddenly snapped into place. Eleanor pulled out the final folder, Aurora Trust. This trust, she said, placing it before me, was created in Aurora's name. It guarantees Rachel's housing, medical care, mental health support, and professional development. It forbids one thing, using any portion of it to rescue adults from the consequences of their own choices. She looked at my family. That includes all of you. Brooke's chair screeched as she stood. If you think you can control us, not control, Eleanor said evenly. Protect. Brooke pointed a shaking finger at me. If you don't pay, I swear I'll go online and tell everyone what you did, how you abandoned your parents, how Eleanor raised a hand. If you post a single defamatory claim, she said, you will activate the exclusion clause. You will be permanently barred from any educational support, financial restructuring aid, or supervised counseling this trust offers. Brooke froze. She hadn't expected consequences. My mother began to cry, really cry, the kind of tears you can't fake. Rachel, I'm so sorry, she whispered. I didn't know. My father looked away, shame settling over him like a shadow. I picked up the pen. Mom, I said gently, this is a family therapy agreement. Once a week, 8 weeks. It's the only path forward for us. She nodded through tears and signed. I turned to my father. This is information on debt support services for seniors. You'll contact them yourself. He swallowed and signed. Then I slid the remaining document toward Brooke. Your offer, I said. Bankruptcy consulting and an 8-week financial course. No money, no bailouts. Her jaw tightened. She pushed the paper away. I'm not signing anything. And she stormed out. For the first time in my life, her exit didn't make me flinch. I breathed in, then signed the Aurora Trust. To close the meeting, I tapped the gold card on the payment terminal. One clean transaction, no coercion attached. Paying for the conference room rental myself. A clean ending for a clean break. When I stepped outside, the sun spilled across the pavement, warm and bright. And for the first time, I felt light. Not because someone saved me, but because I had finally stopped saving everyone else at the cost of myself. I walked into the Denver air with a different spine, a different voice, a different truth. For once, I wasn't paying with silence. I was paying with my own power. And it felt like freedom. If you listen to this story from beginning to end, Tell me, did it touch you? Did you enjoy it? Comment below and tell me what kinds of stories you want me to create next. And if you want to hear more voices, more women, more journeys like this, make sure to like this story and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a new one.